Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and Mirtz Hashem today we will be learning Daf Samach Zayin Amid Aleph. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. We pick up today 2 lines off the bottom of the Shulchan Aruch on Daf Samach Vav Amid Beis, Siman Reish Pei Tes Sif Beis. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasuna Batzaru Bashivya, Ha'im Nebein Bayam Ubein Bayabasha, Hamakayim Yerachem Aleihem, V'yaytziam Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afelu La'oiro Mishibud L'Geula, Hashta Bagala V'zban Kariv and Emaramein. Our learning should be a schus for Fuah Shalema from Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradl, for Yitzchak Baruch ben Rachel Shalva, Tzvi ben Leah Miriam, and Daniel ben Naomi. Our learning should also be a schus for Yisrael ben Rachel, Yonasan ben Michal, and Yoel ben Michal. Rabban Hashem should watch over them, together with all of our brothers and sisters that find themselves in harm's way, b'chol makom shehem. So again, we pick up here Siman Reish Pei Tes Sif Beis, 2 lines off the bottom in the Shulchan Aruch Daf Samach Vav Amid Beis. We're discussing the halachas of the day Suda of Shabbos. Says the Mechaber, b'makom she'ein yayin matzui. If you live in a place where it's not easy to find wine. Now, we're talking about the Shabbos Day Suda. You need wine for Kiddush, for the Shabbos Day Suda. If you're in a makom she'ein yayin matzui, if you're in a place where you can't find wine, have a sheichar u'sha'ar mashkin chutz ben amayim chamar medina. Well, if there's no wine around, well then beer or other beverages, with the exception of water, those would then be considered chamar medina. Now let's remember what Chamar Medina is. Chamar Medina literally means the regional beverage, the beverage of that Medina, like the beverage of choice, kind of. Earlier on, the Mishnah Berurah defined Chamar Medina as the Iker Mashke, the main drink of the region. So wine, back in the day, was considered the main beverage that was used for drinking. But if you're in a makom she'ein yayin matzoi, if they don't have wine, so then wine's not the Chamar Medina. So what is the Chamar Medina? So the Mechaber suggests, if there's no wine, so then either beer or some other types of beverages are then going to be the Chamar Medina. Now, the Mechaber does not mean, you could read this Mechaber and you could make the mistake and you could think that what the Mechaber is saying is, okay, in the absence of wine, so then beer and all other beverages then become Chamar Medina. That's not what the Mechaber means. He means, if there's no wine, in the absence of wine, so then heavy sheichar sha'ar mashkin chutz ben amayim Chamar Medina, then some other beverages are then going to be elevated to be the Chamar Medina. Now, you have to know your Medina. You have to know what is the Chamar Medina. We also know that the Mishnah Berurah has told us that there are certain beverages that cannot be considered Chamar Medina, other than water. Water can't be Chamar Medina. So even if everybody is walking around with their Evian water bottles, or in my case, the Essentia water bottles, water can't be Chamar Medina. Water doesn't have any chashivas to it. It can't be considered Chamar Medina. But beer could be Chamar Medina. Maybe coffee, brewed coffee, could be Chamar Medina. So there are beverages that can be Chamar Medina. Milk, we learned, cannot be Chamar Medina, the Mishnah Berurah said. I mean, milk is not considered a regular beverage that people drink when they're thirsty. I'll go there and take a drink of milk. So, again, in the absence of wine, you have to know what the Chamar Medina is. And it could be a lot of different beverages. But the Mechaber says it cannot be water. So again, b'makom she'ein yayin matzoi, in the absence of wine, if you're in a place where it's hard to come by wine, so then have a sheichar or sha'ar mashkin chutz ben amayim Chamar Medina, then beer or some other beverage is going to be the Chamar Medina, but not water. Water cannot be the Chamar Medina, u'mekachet alav, and therefore you can make Kiddush on that Chamar Medina. Ve'im ein loy sheichar u'sha'ar mashkin. Okay, what do you do if you don't have wine and you don't have any other Chamar Medina? So wherever you are, you got stuck and you're in a hotel room in Hudson Platz and there's no drinks available, and all you have is your bottle of essential water, so you don't have access to any beverage that is considered Chamar Medina. What do you do for Kiddush by Shabbos day? Says the Mechaber, oichel b'loy Kiddush. Then, Shabbos morning, you're going to eat without Kiddush. And the Mishnah Berurah is going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into that halacha. Let's take a look here in the Mishnah Berurah, about 6 lines off the bottom in the Mishnah Berurah here on Samach Vav and Beis. Mishnah Berurah is cut and ches. B'makom she'ein yayin matzui. The Mechaber couches this halacha in the context of it being a makom she'ein yayin matzui. So we're talking about a case where wine is not available. There's no wine to be had. Therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, mashma, the direct implication of the Mechaber is, b'makom shehu matzui, if you do have wine available, ein lekadish ala shecher she'ar mashkin. If wine is available, you have no business making kiddush, even Shabbos morning, on any other beverage than wine. So the beverage of preference for kiddush, even Shabbos by day, is wine. If you don't have wine, then you could move along to Chamar Medina. But you don't come home and say, oh, let's make kiddush today on some Sam Adams, on some beer. Because beer is considered Chamar Medina. No, if you have wine, you use wine. Take a look earlier on in Siman Reish Ayin Beis when we were discussing the halachas of Kiddush Friday night. What we wrote over there. The Mishnah Berurah told us earlier that Kiddush Shabbos by day is a D'Rabbanan. That's L'Kulei Alma. Everybody agrees that Kiddush Shabbos by day is a D'Rabbanan, and therefore he had told us that we're noig to be makel by Kiddush Shabbos by day, to make Kiddush even on Chamar Medina. I just want to check. It was Mishnah Berurah is cutting Chavtes. Yeah, what the Mishnah Berurah says over there is, when we call Makom b'Medina Seinu, in our regions, shahayayin b'yoiker, where wine is very expensive, v'roiv shtias hamedina hu misha'ar mashkin, and most of the drinks that people drink are other drinks, not wine. So loyna hagu afilu agdolim lahadar achar hayayin bayoim, sha'kidish alohu rak b'derabbanan l'kulei alma. So it's not that the Mishnah Berurah earlier in Reish Ayin Beis gives a flat-out kula and says that by Kiddush by day, you could mamish be makel to make Kiddush on beer or other beverages. The way the Mishnah Berurah says it in Reish Ayin Beis is, since yayin is very expensive, and, there are a lot of beverages other than wine that really are Chamar Medina, those are the drinks of choice that most of the people in the regions that we're in actually drink. So the Welt is noig to be makel and to use other drinks. That's what the Mishnah Berurah said in Reish Ayin Beis Sivkot and Chavtes. Nevertheless, continues our Mishnah Berurah here. Mitzvah min amuvkar ala yayinhu. It's definitely a mitzvah min amuvkar to make Kiddush Shabbos by day on wine. Having said that, now the Mishnah Berurah goes to another minig that's very common nowadays. Ula inyan yayin saraf. When it comes to schnapps, we know a lot of people make Kiddush Shabbos day by schnapps. I don't think I ever saw my father, Olav Shalom, make Kiddush Shabbos morning on wine. I actually have his little Kiddush glass that he used all the years. My father, Olav Shalom, always made Kiddush Shabbos morning on schnapps. And he told me that was the minig in the Haim. They always made Kiddush Shabbos morning on schnapps. So l'inin yayin saraf, ayin sham b'dibra maschal al hasheichar. Take a look what we said in Reish Ayin Beis in another Mishnah Berurah over there. And over there what the Mishnah Berurah wrote is, the Mishnah Berurah said, somebody to whom yayin saraf is chaviv. Somebody really likes a good single malt scotch, or somebody really likes his bourbon. So his scotch and his bourbon are chaviv, and they're more chaviv than wine. Give this guy a choice between a nice Cabernet or a nice single malt scotch, he's going to take the single malt scotch. So to him, yayin saraf, schnapps, has a maila. It's chaviv. We always want to make a bracha, we always want to do a mitzvah with something that's more chaviv. So to him, the schnapps is more chaviv. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if you have a person to whom yayin saraf is actually chaviv, then he could go ahead and make Kiddush on it Shabbos by day, because we have a lot of variables over here to be makel. First of all, the yayin saraf is more chaviv to him than yayin. Second of all, it's Kiddush Shabbos morning, and it's zichar d'Rabbanan. Kiddush Shabbos morning, l'kulei alma, is only a d'Rabbanan. Third of all, yayin saraf is definitely considered Chamar Medina. So therefore, said the Mishnah Berurah, to make Kiddush Shabbos morning on schnapps, you could do But the Mishnah Berurah goes l'shitasai. The Mishnah Berurah warns us, and he says, if you want to make Kiddush Shabbos morning on schnapps, you need to use a kais that's machzik revius. You need to use a kais that holds a revius, and you have to make sure to drink a mole lugmov, at least, of the schnapps. Now, there's a famous Taz. The Taz disagrees with this. The Taz, they say from the Taz. It's not clear in the Taz. It's a diak in the Taz based on what the Taz says when it comes to the halachas of Bari Nefashis. There's a diak in the Taz where they say over from the Taz that according to the Taz, you don't need a kais machzik revius if you're using schnapps. If the chosheva size of a glass for schnapps is a shot glass, then you could use a shot glass of schnapps to make Kiddush, and you don't even necessarily have to drink a malay lugmav. You could even drink a little bit less, because it's typical to drink a little bit less than a malay lugmav maybe of schnapps. So, fine, I'm being matzdik the minig. We know that there is a very accepted minig in certain circles to make Kiddush Shabbos morning on a shot glass of schnapps. That's where it comes from. It comes from the Taz, but this is a Mishnah Berurah here. The Mishnah Berurah is telling us over here, look at what I said earlier. If you're going to make Kiddush on schnapps, you need a kais machzik revius, and you have to drink at least a malay lugmav. Ice cotton test says the Mishnah Berurah Chamar Medina or Mashke she'ena Chamar Medina. If you're talking about a beverage that is certainly not Chamar Medina, his skibu harmei akrayim. Most of the akrayim agree. The ein mekatchen afilu b'shachris. You can't make kiddush on a beverage that is not Chamar Medina, even Kiddush Shabbos morning. The dumya the Kiddush halayla tiknua, because even though Kiddush Shabbos morning is only the Rabbanan, called the tikkun Rabbanan kain daraisa tikkun. When the Chazal make a takana, they base it on precedent. They use the precedent of a daraisa. So by the daraisa, we need Chamar Medina. So for the Rabbanan of Kiddush Shabbos morning, you also need Chamar Medina. So I would say, for example, orange juice is not Chamar Medina. So could you make, in a pinch, could you make Kiddush on orange juice? No, it's not Chamar Medina. Uprate adin shel Chamar Medina, as far as the details of what's considered Chamar Medina, Bavur lekamad b'simin reish tzadik vav b'Mishnah Berurah le'inyan havdalah v'hu adin kan. What's interesting is, B'etz Hashem Yisparach, we'll get to simin reish tzadik vav. Really, in reish tzadik vav, the Mishnah Berurah sends you back to reish ayin beis. So there's a few places where he mentions Chamar Medina, but for the words of the Mishnah Berurah, what is Chamar Medina? Those are beverages that the ikar shtia, the main drinking of that region, are from these beverages. Those are the beverages that are considered Chamar Medina. Okay, moving along. The Mechaber said, what do you do if it's Shabbos morning and you don't have any wine for Kiddush and you don't have any Chamar Medina for Kiddush? What do you do then? Said the Mechaber, Oichel B'loi Kiddush. So then you're going to eat the Suda without Kiddush. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Yod, Oichel B'loi Kiddush. You're going to eat without Kiddush. Pirish. What does this mean? Mishnah Berurah explains. Kishayesh loy pas. If you're sitting down to your Shabbos day Suda and you have bread, va'afilu chatichas pas. Even if you only have a piece of bread, v'loy pas sholem. You don't even have a sholem. So forget you don't have lechem mishnah. You don't even have a whole loaf. All you have is a slice of bread. You have a piece of bread. So what do? Oimer hamoitzi al hapas. So you'll make hamoitzi on the pas, and then you'll eat the Suda. What's the chiddush that the Mishnah Berurah is telling me here? Let's go a little bit further. Va'aser lechol davar acher kaidem lechein l'das k'tzas paiskim. And some paiskim hold you're not allowed to eat anything until you make the hamoitzi and you eat that pas. What's the Mishnah Berurah saying? Well, let's remember. What is Kiddush Shabbos morning? Now, Mechaber told us that Kiddush Shabbos morning is making a bayre priagafen on a kais of yayin. We say Vishamru, some people say Zachar, some people say Imtashiv, some people just say Kisheshes. I know one Rebbe of mine who just says Zachar es Yayim HaShabbos Lekadjoy. And then Savrim Arnon Rabban Rabbi Isai Bar Kadosh Bar Piagov. So most of us add something, some psukim, or at least part of a pasuk, which the Mishnah Berurah doesn't like, to Kiddush Shabbos by day. But in reality, what's the real Takanas Chazal of Kiddush by day? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Bari Pri Hagafen. All right, so that's Kiddush. What do you do if you don't have wine? You don't have wine, so what do we do for Kiddush? You have bread, make hamoitzi on the bread. Now, he's not saying that that's called Kiddush al hapas, but that's what's going to be the stand-in for the Kiddush. You're going to make hamoitzi on bread at the beginning of the Suda. And since that's kind of the stand-in for Kiddush, you're not allowed to eat before you make that hamaitzi. Because remember, you're not allowed to eat before Kiddush. So, okay, you don't have yayin to make Kiddush on, but you're going to make hamaitzi on Pas. Some place can say you're not allowed to eat before you make that hamaitzi on the Pas. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, v'mein like on Pas. What if it's time for the Shabbos morning Suda and you don't have wine and you don't have bread? What then? Says the Mishnah Berurah, oichel b'loi Kiddush. Then you're going to eat Shabbos morning without Kiddush. Let's remember, Kiddush Shabbos morning is a D'Rabbanan. You have no way to make Kiddush. All right, you missed out on the D'Rabbanan, but you're still going to have a Suda. Sit down and eat a Suda without Kiddush. You don't have anything to make Kiddush on. Ve'ein lo levatel mitzvah Einik Shabbos b'shvil zeh. We're not going to be mevatel the mitzvah of Einik Shabbos, which is to have a Suda Shabbos. We're not going to be mevatel that because you can't have Kiddush. Ubalayla, how about by night? Now remember, by night is different because by night Kiddush is a Daraisa, not a D'Rabbanan. So what do you do by night if you have nothing to make Kiddush on? Says the Mishnah Berurah, ubalayla, at night, im ein loy chatichas pas, if you don't have bread to make Kiddush on a pas, v'yayin, and you don't have wine to make Kiddush on wine, u'sha'ar mashkin, you don't have chamar medina, lekadish alav, you have no way to make Kiddush Friday night, v'yesh loy tavshil, but you have a pot of chicken soup, so you have a cooked dish, u'perois, or maybe at least you have fruits, you have apples, you have oranges, v'kayotzabai, or something similar. Yesh Aimrim, there are those that say, Di'im mitzape sheyaviu loy eze davar lekadish alav. Let's say, you're stuck somewhere, whatever the situation is. You sit down for your Friday night Suda. So you have no wine. You have no chamar medina. You have no pas. You have a pot of chicken soup. All right, so you're stuck. Says the Mishnah Berurah that there are those that say, if you have a hope, you know, oh, Pliny is coming. He might not be here for an hour or two, but Pliny is coming, and I know that he has a bottle of wine with him. He's walking from far away, and he's going to be here in an hour or two, and he's bringing a bottle of Cabernet. So says the Mishnah Berurah, if you have a reasonable hope that somebody's coming and he's bringing wine, or another Chamar Medina, or Challah, that you can make Kiddush on, then you should wait a couple of hours for the guy to come so that you should be able to eat with Kiddush. Remember, Kiddush is a Daraisa Friday night. So again, you don't have anything to make Kiddush on. You have a pot of chicken soup, but you know that somebody is coming and he's going to have with him wine or a Chamar Medina or Challah that you can make Kiddush on a pas. Don't eat yet. Wait a couple of hours for him to come and then do it properly. Make Kiddush and then eat. Aval kol panim, however, ain't tzarich lahamtin yosem echatzois. You don't have to wait past midnight. V'imu adam chalosh, and if you're a weak person, you have a weak constitution, ain't tzarich lahamtin, then you don't have to wait at all. V'yoichal masha yeshloi, sit down and eat your chicken soup, beloy Kiddush, without Kiddush. V'yismaich amasha hiske Kiddush hasayoyim batfila. Aye, Kiddush is a daraisa. Yeah, but you said vayichulu in Shemon Esrei. So we're going to be saimich on the paiskim that hold that when you said vayichulu in your Shemon Esrei, you already took care of your chiyuv daraisa of Kiddush. Then when this fellow shows up with chalas or with a nice bottle of Cabernet you can make Kiddush on, so then Yomer Alav Kol Nusach HaKiddush, then you'll sit down and you'll say the whole Nusach of Kiddush, V'yisayit Kazayas I'll call upon him, and then at least eat a Kazayas after the Kiddush, so it should be Kiddush B'Malkaim Suda. Okay, that brings us on to Samach Zayin Amal Aleph, Siman Reish Tzadik, B'Shabbos Yashlim Meya Brachos B'Peros. On Shabbos, you should make sure to complete your count of making 100 brachas, and you should do it by eating fruits. Ubay Bei Sifim, and here we have 2 Sifim. What's that work over here? Remember, we learned earlier that there's a chiyuv on every person to make 100 brachas, 100 blessings every day. Now, it's really not hard to make 100 blessings every day, because if you think about it, before you sneeze, you already have 57 brachas. Why? Because you daven Shemon Esrei 3 times a day. Each Shemon Esrei is composed of 19 brachas. 19 times 3 is 57. Now that's without counting Berachas HaShachar, without counting all the other brachas that are automatically part of your day. So you've got a lot of brachas before you even start. Then you're going to make brachas throughout the day. You're going to eat. You're going to drink. So it's really not hard on a daily basis to hit 100 brachas. But on Shabbos, you have a challenge. Why? Because I told you that, typically speaking, you start your day, right? Not you start your day, but you have 57 brachas built in. The three Shemoneh Esreis, 90 times 3. You start off right away, you got 57 brachas. But not on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you lose 36 brachas. Because the Shabbos Shemoneh Esrei only has 7 brachas. So 7 times 3 is 21. 57 minus 21 equals 36. So you're short 36 brachas every Shabbos. Therefore, says the Mechaber, you have to make sure that you make up the brachas that you're missing. How do you do it? Beperos. Eat extra. Eat an apple. Have a snack. So have an apple. A little bit later, have an orange. Then have some grapes. You have some grapes, you're going to make a bar priagofet on the grapes. If you eat enough grapes and you eat them fast enough, you're going to have to make an alaperis. So that's another bracha, right? You wash for the Suda, you bench. So the Mechaber is saying, make sure that you snack during the day. Make extra brachas to make up for the brachas that you lost. Okay, says the Mechaber here, Sif Aleph. Yarbe beperois umegadim, you should eat additional fruits and additional delicacies. Megadim are delicacies. Umine reach, smell some besamim, so you can make a bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, bar yiminu besamim, kedei lahashlim minyan mea brachas, to make up the count of 100 brachas. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Aleph, Yarbe beperos. Now, here the Mishnah Berurah says a very interesting thing that needs some explanation. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Mechaber is telling you that on Shabbos you have to make sure to eat extra delicacies to make up your count of 100 brachas. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'gam b'leil Shabbos kodesh. Also Friday night, Shabbos night, toiv sheyashlim bam hamea brachas. You should make sure to make up your count of 100 brachas. Very confusing Mishnah Berurah. Very hard to figure out what the Mishnah Berurah means over here. Again, in English, what he's telling you is, the Mechaber says on Shabbos, the thinking is that the Mechaber means Shabbos day, make sure that you snack. Make sure you eat some apples. Make sure you have a nice piece of cake. Why? So that you should make up for the brachas that you're short. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Friday night also. Okay, let's analyze this for a second. You have a chiyuv to make 100 brachas every day. What is a halachic day? When does a halachic day start? A halachic day starts at night, and it ends the following night. So when is Shabbos day? Shabbos day starts Friday night, and it ends Motzei Shabbos. You have to make 100 brachas every day. So you have from Friday night until Motzei Shabbos to make your 100 brachas. All right, you're short 36 brachas, because Friday night Ma'ariv is only 7 brachas, Friday morning Shachris is only 7 brachas, Shabbos Mincha is only 7 brachas. Now, by the way, I forgot. You actually have another Shemoneh Esrei. You have Musaf, which is another 7 brachas. So you have 28, not 21. So it's not 57 minus 21. It's really 57 minus 28. It's really 29 brachas that you're short. But all right. So fine. You're short. So make them up during the day. Snack during the day. You'll make up the brachas that you're short. What's the Mishnah Berurah telling me? Make sure to do it Friday night also. Why do you have to do it Friday night? In other words, the Friday night is part of the Shabbos day count. So if you're short brachas because your Shemoneh Esreis are shorter from Friday night until Motzei Shabbos, why is the Mishnah Berurah telling me that it's good to make them up on Friday night also? I have from Friday night until Motzei Shabbos to make them up. So I can make them up all Shabbos afternoon. Why is it good to make them up on Friday night? So I have 2 possible explanations for this. First of all, this idea that the chiyuv to make 100 brachas runs from the night until the next night is actually not clear. There are those poskim that hold that even though a halachic day runs from night to the following night, when it comes to the requirement to make 100 brachas every day, that requirement is during the day. It doesn't include the night before. Now, if that's true, so then when the Mechaber is telling you over here, on Shabbos you have to make sure to make up your 100 brachas, what the Mechaber is talking about is Shabbos day. Shabbos day, your short brachas. So Shabbos day, make sure you make up your 100 brachas. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah Berurah says, yes, but realize that you're also short for your count on Friday, because Friday night Ma'ariv was only 7 brachas. A typical weekday Ma'ariv is 19 brachas. So the Mechaber is talking about Shabbos days 100 brachas. The Mishnah Berurah is talking about Friday's 100 brachas. Realize that Friday you're also short. Now you're not very short. Shabbos by day you're quite short. Friday you're only short 12 brachas, because your whole Friday was normal until Friday night Ma'ariv, where your Shemona Esrei is 7 brachas instead of 19. So you're short 12. So okay, says the Mishnah Berurah, the Mechaber is talking about Shabbos day. I'm telling you that you also have to be careful for Friday, because Friday you were short 12 brachas. That's one way to understand this Mishnah Berurah. Another way to understand the Mishnah Berurah is no. The Mishnah Berurah is going according to the Shittas that the 100 brachas have to be made between the night and the day. All the Mishnah Berurah is coming to tell you is Eitz Tova Kamashmalan. Realize you're very short for your count of 100 brachas over the course of Shabbos. Don't wait until Shabbos afternoon to catch up. Start catching up already Friday night, because already Friday night you're short. On a typical night, you daven Ma'ariv and you daven 19 brachas. Friday night you're davening Ma'ariv and you're only davening 7 brachas. So already Friday night you're 12 brachas short. Don't wait until Shabbos day to make up all the brachas that you're missing. Friday night, after the Suda, sit down, have an Einik Shabbos. Make a Bar Prayer Eitz on an apple. You're going to have to make a Bar Nefashis. Later on, have a tea when you're being Mavisedra. So that's going to be another shackle and another Bar Nefashis. And already Friday night, start to make up some of the lost brachas. Those are the 2 possible pshatim that I have over here in Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Aleph. Okay, Ois Katan Beis. Says the Mishnah Berurah, minyan meya brachas. The Mechaber said you have to make up your count of 100 brachas. Ki b'chol yom mevarich adam meya brachas. Every day a person has to make 100 brachas. V'chedi isa le'el b'simen mem vav siv gimel, like we learned earlier in simen mem vav siv gimel. Ayin sham b'Mishnah Berurah. Va'ata, and now on Shabbos shenechsa lo kama brachas. You're short a lot of brachas. Shabbat tefillah Shabbos yesh rak sheva brachas, because each Shabbos Shemona Esrei only has 7 brachas, and a normal weekday Shemona Esrei has 19. V'al ken yishtadel lahashlimam, and therefore you have to put an effort to make up for the lost brachas. Continues the Ramah. Hago. V'im ragel b'shinas tzarayim. If you typically take a nap in the afternoon, al yivatlenu. Don't be mavatal your nap. Because a nap Shabbos afternoon is considered Einik Shabbos. What Ramah seems to be saying over here is the Mechaber just came and the Mechaber said that, look, Shabbos afternoon, make sure you sit down and you have a nice Einik Shabbos to make up for your lost 100 brachas. Comes along the Ramah. The Ramah says, especially on short Shabbos afternoons like this season, don't be mevatel from your afternoon nap, because your afternoon nap is a big part of Einik Shabbos. So make sure that you don't cancel your nap. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Gimel, Al Yivatlenu, don't be mevatel your afternoon nap. Umikol Makayim, very important Mishnah Berurah. Nevertheless, says the Chavetz Chaim, Lo Yarbe Bo Yoser Midai. Some people, Shabbos afternoon, especially during the summer, they lay down for a nap and they sleep for 7 hours. They crash after the Suda. They might, hopefully they get up for Mincha. Hopefully they get up for Shal Shudis. Unfortunately, I've seen people who go to sleep right after the daytime Suda, and they barely make it up for Ma'ariv. So, says the Mishnah Berurah, Mikal Malkim, let's take it easy on the Tainig, on the Einik Shabbos of the Shabbos afternoon nap. La Yarba Ba Yosim Idai. Don't sleep more than, don't sleep an inordinate amount. Shaloy V'yenu Lidei Bittul Torah. Don't end up coming to Bittul Torah because of your delicious nap over here. Sha'afilu Talmidei Chachamim shaloimdim kol hashavua. Even Talmidei Chachamim who spend their whole week learning. And we're going to see in the Ramah, Mirz Hashem, tomorrow, shemitzvah she'is angu b'yoser. Talmidei Chachamim actually have a mitzvah to be oisik in Einik Shabbos, in eating, drinking, sleeping more than people who are not Talmidei Chachamim. Like we're going to see in the Ramah Mirz Hashem tomorrow. Says the Chavetz Chaim, even Talmidei Chachamim, who the Ramah is going to say, they have a bigger chiv to be Isaac in Einik Shabbos more than people who don't sit and learn all week. Eina pirishi yavalu kol hayom b'tanugim. Doesn't mean that the Talmid Chacham should spend his whole Shabbos afternoon eating, drinking, and sleeping. Raki yimshechu yoser b'tainig mishar b'nei adam. It just means a little bit more. Kosva Svar b'Shem HaZoyar, the Svar write in the name of the Zoyar. Shemitzvah la'adam l'chadish chidushay Torah b'Shabbos. There's a specific Indian to be mechadish chidushay Torah, to come up with novel Torah thoughts on Shabbos. Umisha ena bar hachi l'chadish, somebody who's not a Talmid Chacham, doesn't have the ability to be mechadish in Torah, he should be mechadish a different way. How? Yilmay dvarim shaloi lamad adheina. He shouldn't use Shabbos only for chazara. He should learn Shabbos to learn something new. There should be a chidush. There should be something new in your Torah learning on Shabbos. The Ramah said, don't be mevatel your Shabbos afternoon nap, ki oiniku, because that nap is an oinik Shabbos. Aval lo yomer. Interesting, another very interesting Mishnah Berurah that needs biur. Says the Mishnah Berurah, aval lo yomer. This is a very important halacha. You should not say on Shabbos afternoon, Nelech v'nishan, let's go and go to sleep, Kedei shenucha lasos malachtenu b'motzai Shabbos, so that we will be able to do our malacha on Motzei Shabbos. So what's the Mishnah Berurah saying? The Mishnah Berurah is saying, don't say Shabbos afternoon, we're going tonight for a long drive. Let's go to sleep now. Let's take a nap now, so that we can drive tonight. Don't do that. Don't say that. Now, the Mishnah Berurah gives a reason why. He says, Shemare bazeh, because by making that statement, you are showing Shenach v'yoshein b'shvil yomai sachol, that the reason you're not sleeping l'kavod Shabbos, you're sleeping for Motzei Shabbos. Why are you taking a nap now? Taking a nap now because I have to take a long drive tonight. So your mamish made a statement. Okay, I got to go to sleep now. Why? I'm going to sleep now, so I should be able to drive to Cleveland tonight. Okay, so you're going to sleep l'kavod Shabbos? No, you're going to sleep so that you should be able to stay up late tonight. Says the Mishnah Berurah, do not say that. Why? Because you're showing that you're doing it for the week. What exactly is the problem here? So, from 30,000 feet, what the Mefarshim say over here is there's several problems. First of all, right away, there's a problem of daber davar. We're going to learn Miras Hashem later. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to speak about doing malacha. You don't say on Shabbos. I remember when my kids were little, my kids would sometimes ask me, Daddy, are we going to go to wherever tonight, which would entail driving? I said, we don't speak about it on Shabbos. You don't speak about malacha on Shabbos. You don't say on Shabbos, tonight there's a lot of time, Motzei Shabbos, let's finish that building project. You're talking about malacha on Shabbos, daber davar. You don't talk about malacha on Shabbos. So right away there's a problem over here. You cannot say, Nelech v'nishan, let's go to sleep Shabbos afternoon, Kedei shenucha lasos malachtenu, so that we could do malacha on Motzei Shabbos. That's a problem with daber davar. You're talking about doing malacha on Motzei Shabbos. Can't do that. Daber davar. That's one problem. Another problem is kavod Shabbos. The whole point of the nap is supposed to be kavod Shabbos. It's supposed to be oinik Shabbos. If you say, I'm taking the nap so I can take a long drive tonight, so then you mavatal the whole Indian of oinik Shabbos. You're not doing it for oinik Shabbos. You're not doing it to take a geshmak nap Shabbos afternoon. You're doing it so you should be able to drive on Motzei Shabbos. That's another problem. Another problem is hachana. It's not mamish hachana, but going to sleep for the purposes of Motzei Shabbos might be a certain level of hachana. So for all these reasons, you should not do this. Okay, moving along now to Sif Bey's second line in the Shulchan Aruch Samach Zayin Amud Aleph. Achar Suda Shachris, after the Shabbos morning Suda, Koivim Medrash. You're Koiveya, you're supposed to set a drasha. There should be a drasha. Shabbos afternoon. Koivim Medrash. You set up a bis medrash. You make a time for people, a kavua dik time, for people to come and learn, or people to come hear a drasha. Likrais b'neviim, to learn navi, v'lidraish b'divrei agada, to give a geshmak a drasha in divrei agada. And it's interesting that the Mechaber says that. We're going to have to talk about that. And therefore, says the Mechaber, you're not allowed to have a sudas kva at that time. So let's just put this very succinctly. What did the Mechaber just say? The Mechaber said, Shabbos afternoon is not a free-for-all. It's not a hefker. It's not just a time, let's go for a walk. Let's sit around and have an Elik Shabbos. Let's schmooze. All of that is fine. All of that is geshmak. You should have a certain amount of that on Shabbos. But, says the Mechaber, After the Suda Shabbos afternoon, you have to be Kavei Medrash. You have to set a time when people come to the Beis Medrash and people learn Torah. Or there has to be a drasha. For Dirshu and Dirshu, it was the minhag that the Rav gave a drasha Shabbos afternoon. You have to do that. And not only do you have to do that, but you're not allowed to be Kavei Suda during the time of the drasha. So you live in a small town and there's one shul and they give a klap, Rabbi side the drasha is going to be at 3 o'clock. Or if there's no drasha, let's say the Beis Medrash is open at 3 o'clock. That's the time for people to come and learn. Then you're not allowed to be Kavei Suda. You're not allowed to sit down and be Kavei Suda, wash and eat a kabeya and make a kviya Suda. You're not allowed to be Kavei Suda at that time. And now, against this backdrop, let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kavim Medrash. You have to set up a time to learn. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Issa Medrash. There's a beautiful Medrash that says, Amra Torah lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah Akdosha came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Torah said to the Rabbeinu Shalom, Rabbeinu Shalom, Kishi Yichnesu Yisrael la'aretz. Apparently, the Torah said this at the time of Kabbalah HaTorah. So Yidden were in the Midbar. The Torah came to the Rabbeinu Shalom and said, Kishi Yikansu Yisrael la'aretz. When Klal Yisrael comes into Eretz Yisrael, you know what's going to happen? Zeratz lekarmoi. One guy is going to run to his vineyard. V'zeratz lesadeu. Another person is going to run out to the field. In other words, people are going to go to work. When we're in the midbar, there is no work. Everybody's eating mun. Everybody's drinking from the be'er. So there's no work. But what's going to happen when we get into Eretz Yisrael? People are going to go plant. They're going to go make a parnasa. So people are going to go to work. They're going to go to the office. And the Torah Kedusha said, Ani matahei alai. What's going to be with me? Everybody's going to be busy with the parnasa. What's going to be with me? Amar Allah, the Rabban Shalom said to the Torah Kedusha, Yesh li zug. I have a shidduch for you. Shani mezavig lach. I'm making you a shidduch, the Rabban Shalom said to the Torah Kedusha. V'Shabbos shmoi. You know who your kala is going to be? It's Shabbos. Sheheim b'telim malachtam. On Shabbos, Klal Yisrael is not going to do malacha. V'yechelim lasek bach. And they're going to be able to learn Torah. So the Mishnah Berurah is telling me over here. The Mechaber says that Shabbos afternoon, you have to set a time for learning Torah. You know why? Because that's what Shabbos afternoon is for. Shabbos is for, you don't do malacha. So what do? You don't play cards. You don't do malacha. So you go learn. That's what Shabbos is for. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Vav, V'lidrosh. Now this is very interesting. It's a very difficult mechaber over here. I didn't bring my Torah with me. Is there somebody by the dining room table who could bring me my Torah? It's opened up in front of where I was learning. It's a red sefer. I wanted to read to the Olam the nusach of the Torah. And then you'll understand why I say that this mechaber is a little bit of a difficult mechaber. The mechaber's words over here are, what should the drasha be? Likrais banavim, we should read from Navi, v'lidrosh b'divrei agoda. And we should learn divrei agoda. What are divrei agoda? Divrei agoda, it's drush. It's a geschmack of word on the parsha, or some geschmack of stuff from Navi. But you know what it's not? It's not a pilpul. It doesn't sound like the Rav should get up and darshan halacha, like the Rav is going to get up Shabbos afternoon, and let's give a good drasha in Hilchah Shabbos. Let's talk about beer. Let's talk about how are you allowed to separate the spoons and the knives on the forks? How do you eat your watermelon on Shabbos afternoon? Let's talk about Hilchah Shabbos. Let's talk about the halachas of Kiddush b'makom suda. No, it sounds from the Mechaber that the Rav is going to get up. He's going to say some nice, juicy, divrei Torah on maybe the HaTorah from Navi. He's going to say some nice, beautiful vertlach on Chumash. That's what the Mechaber sounds like. Now let's take a look at the lashon of the Torah. The Torah says like this: V'achar hashena. We just spoke about sleeping Shabbos afternoon. Says the Torah, okay, you have a suda, then you take a nap. V'achar hashena, after the nap, koivin medrash. Now you make a time to come into the Beis Medrash. You make a drasha. K'di isa b'medrash, like the Medrash says, the Medrash that the Mishnah Berurah just brought down. Amra Torah lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rabbeinu Shalom, kisheyichnusi Yisrael la'aretz, zer ras l'karmei v'zer ras l'sadeu v'ani matahei alai, amala yesh li zug shani mezavig lach v'shabbos shmoi, shein b'telim yom malachti v'yichem lasik bach. Al kain. Therefore, based on this medrash. Says the Torah, Tzarech sheyikvu medrash. You need to set up a drasha, Shabbos afternoon. What should the subject of this drasha be? Loidia la'am es chukei ha'elokim ve'es toiroisav. To teach the people the halachas of the Torah. Chukei ha'elokim ve'es toiroisav. The laws, the halachas of the Torah. Based on that, take a look what the Mishnah Berurah says now. Mishnah Berurah is cut in vav. Ve'al ikar yia oz lalamid l'rabim es chukei elokim ve'es toiroisav. That's the lashon of the Torah. The ikar of the drash is to teach halacha. Lahayrais hilchas Shabbos, to teach hilchas Shabbos, v'ha'aser v'ha'muter, and to teach the people what's aser and what's muter. The Bach says, what does that mean? Teach the people what's aser and muter. The Bach suggests, look in the parsha and dig out halachas based on the parsha. So if you're learning parshas Nasai, so give a drasha and talk about hilchas Nazir. Talk about the halachas of a Nazir. Don't just give a nice vertel on Nazir. Talk about the halachas of a Nazir. You're learning a parsha. You're learning Vayakel. That starts off with Hilchas Shabbos, with the halachas of Havara, making a fire. Talk about Hilchas Bishul. Talk about making fires on Shabbos. Teach the halachas of making fires on Shabbos, not just a vertel. Gam lahamshich lev hashoymim ba'agada. Also, says the Mishnah Berurah, there's room for a Geshmak Drasha too. But what kind of a Geshmak Drasha? Not just a cute gematria or a cute vart. Says the Mishnah Berurah, there has to be a lesson. Gam lahamshich lev hashoymim ba'agada hamadrichim es ha'adam liyar shamayim. Give a drasha that's going to teach people to increase their level of Yiras Shamayim. V'chediisa b'yalkut reish parshas Vayakel. The Yalkut, in the beginning of Parshas Vayakel, says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Moshe, Aseh lecha kihilois gedolos. What the Yalkut says over there is, this word Vayakel Moshe. Vayakel Moshe means that Moshe Rabbeinu came and he congregated the people. He pulled all the people together and he spoke to them. The Yalkut says, nowhere else in the Torah do we have this language, Vayakel Moshe, that he pulled everybody together. We only have it in the beginning of Parshas Vayakel. And what did Moshe Rabbeinu tell them? Moshe Rabbeinu told them, Lo yisavaru eish b'chol moshe v'seichem b'yom HaShabbos. You're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. Says the Medrash, what do we learn from there? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'Moshe, Aseh lecha kihilois gedolos. Congregate the people on Shabbos. U'derosh lifneim barabim, and give a derosha barabim hilchas Shabbos. Lahayres liyisrael iser v'heter, to teach them what's aser and what's muter. And now the Mishnah Berurah brings down from the Bach. V'loi k'moi shenayhagen achshav. Not like the minig nowadays, where the drasha is just a night vort. It's just a nice vort. No, it's supposed to be iser v'heter. It's supposed to be halacha. Yes, musar also, to be marbe Yiras Shamayim, but there has to be tachlis. What's interesting in the Mechaber is that the Mechaber doesn't say this. The Mechaber says to learn Navi and lidresh b'divrei Haggadah. And in the Beis Yosef on the Torah, he doesn't say that. So I didn't have time to look into it too much. Why the Mechaber chose to write it this way is a little bit interesting. Okay, moving along to Mishnah Berurah's Katan Zayin. The Mechaber said, since we have this chiv to make a drasha Shabbos afternoon, va'asalik baya, you're not allowed to be kaveh suda during that time. Says the Chavetz Chaim. The Gemara in Gittin Issa, the Gemara says, betlas mili natsi balibatim inachsayu. Rabbi Say, you want to know why sometimes business goes bad? You want to know why sometimes your parnasa gets a patch? Says the Gemara, betlas mili natsi balibatim inachsayu. There are three reasons why people lose money. One of them is if you will kaveh a suda Shabbos afternoon during the time of the drasha. That makes you lose your money. The reason for this is based on a Yerushalmi. The reason why the Rabbeinu Shalom gave us Shabbos and Yom Tov when we can't do malacha is so that we should sit and be oisik b'Torah. All week long, they're busy with their work. So they don't have time to be kiveya, time to spend time learning Torah. Well, b'Shabbos, hey, doing malacha. But what's your excuse on Shabbos? Somebody asks somebody, what do you do for a living? I'm an accountant. How much time do you spend learning? Well, I go to a Daf Yomi shir in the morning and I go to a Dirshu shir at night. Now, Rabbi Isai, I'm not knocking that. That's a beautiful thing. Fine. But it's during the week. You're allowed to do malacha. You're allowed to do work for your living, for your livelihood. You're being mekayim your chiyuv. You're being kaveh itim l'Torah. You're learning Daf Yomi in the morning. You're learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah at night. Fine. It's a beautiful thing. But on Shabbos, you don't have that excuse. Can't do your accounting work on Shabbos. So what are you doing on Shabbos? On Shabbos, you're supposed to be sitting and learning. On Shabbos, you're a kol younger man. So that's why the Rebbeinu Shalom gave a Shabbos in Yom Tov. Yichayim lasik b'karoi. Lefikach also loy lefanis atzmai b'divrei Torah. So on Shabbos afternoon, Yom Tov afternoon, you're not allowed to turn your mind away from Torah. V'likbayos udasai b'shosh darshan b'meis hamedrash. And to mamish go ahead and be kaveh suda when the Rav is giving the drasha. No, you're not kaveh suda when the Rav is giving the drasha. B'shosh darshan b'meis hamedrash divrei Torah b'rabim. Ella rather, yakdemaisa, make your suda earlier, or yakaraisa, or make your suda later. Says the Chavetz Chaim, v'zeu teichachas megula. This is an open reprimand. La'oisan ha'anashim, to those people, shemetaylin ba'esahi b'shvakim u'barachayvos, who during the drasha, they're out in the street taking a walk. The Mechaber is telling you you're not allowed to be Kaveh Suda Shabbos morning. You're not allowed to be Kaveh Suda for your Shabbos Suda. That's a mitzvah. Arnik Shabbos. You're not allowed to do it during the drasha. Why? Because it's a bazayin. You're going and you're being Kaveh Suda at the time that they're learning Torah Barabim in the Beis HaMedrash. Certainly to just go stomp for a walk and shmuz, definitely that is inappropriate. Now, in the context of our world, again, to fully appreciate and understand what Mechaber and the Mishnah Berurah is saying, you have to put yourself a little bit more into the mindset and to the reality, let's say, of a small shtetl. You have a small shtetl, you have one base medrash, there's a Rav, the Rav gives a drasha, that's the drasha for the town. Maybe they make a Seder, Shabbos afternoon, there's a Seder. 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the Olam gets together and they learn Mishnayos. Fine. That's the Seder for the whole town. If you go and you be Kaveh Suda during the time that's set for the limud Torah Barabim and the Mishnah Berurah, you're not allowed to do that. Our reality is different. Our reality is you live in a town, there's Baruch Hashem, there's 16 shuls, and there's 27 different shiurim. You have Daf Yomi at 3 o'clock, and Dirshu at 4 o'clock, and father and son learning at 5 o'clock, and Mishnayos Barabim at 2 o'clock, and this and that. So to say that it's also to be Kaveh Suda, when exactly is it going to be also to be Kaveh Suda? But the Ikar Halacha over here remains the same, Rabbi say. And that is the Shabbos afternoon is a time for Torah learning. Okay? We're going to continue more on this theme, Mirz Hashem, later with Mishnah Berurah, Ois Kat and Ches. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. So, schluss of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom should send Yeshua's for first panas and shduchim to all those in need. And we should be zeichet to see the Bias Kol Tzedek B'Meher of Yameinu. Amen. Be well.